Jemima, there's a moment in your piece where it's almost like you turn the camera on yourself briefly, and it's a brilliant line, and you say, somebody says, so what do you do, or what's your skill, and you say, my skill is keeping a straight face when inside I'm thinking, fucking hell. So tell us about that moment and tell us about that skill.
Yeah, because he had said, for some context, this is one of the members of Homeland, and he had said, because they were telling me all their quite interesting thoughts on how the country should change, and I was kind of nodding my head and going and then one of them turned to me and said, so what's your skill then? Spinning something into a story. And I was like, no, it's keeping a straight face when it's I'm thinking fucking hell. So I find that one of the things to do with when people ask you as a journalist, so what are you going to do with this story then? Are you going to stab me in the back? I had the exact same thing with Tony Holt Kramer, the head of the Trumpettes, who got me into Mar-a-Lago initially, who said, she asked me that, are you going to stab me in the back? And my response to her was, I don't know. I will write what I find. I'm not here with an agenda. And I think that when you say,
it's a great answer.
When you actually answer honestly, you win trust, because people think that we all think each other are full of bullshit, which people are. So if you answer honestly, I think it kind of. But also, I felt that they all just laughed, and I think they didn't think that I was actually being serious. And it's quite fun because you've just said the truth, and they don't. I think they didn't really know how to take it really. And I think, but it is true that that's what I am doing, and it's not part of it. I think is so. The style of journalism that I guess I was practicing in this piece is kind of quite what people say gonzo.
Yeah.
And it's quite immersive and quite kind of being part of the thing that you're in rather than standing there.
Aside and
exactly.
Judging. Yeah.
Exactly. So in order to do that, I want people. Sometimes I'll challenge something, and because I want to hear the full argument, but mainly I am just trying to imagine. I'm trying to get a sense of what would be said and what would happen if I weren't there, and and so I'm trying to. It's almost like I think actors are trying to. They're not thinking of themselves as an actor. They're trying to just imagine themselves as a person who. Whoever they're playing, they're kind of, and it's a little bit like that maybe, like you're just kind of that I'm kind of just wanting to witness it rather than judge it, and then I can leave that until afterwards when I'm writing it up, and even then I don't particularly want to tell the reader this is what you should think about this.
Right? No, and you don't. Yeah, which is part of why these pieces are so good, I think. So, but it's like an actor in that sense, but it's not like an actor in the sense that you are not pretending to be someone you're not. I mean, you tell them who you are.
Yeah.
And so that's quite a sort of interesting line to walk where...
Well, because I genuinely don't think that So I think that some people, and I kind of in some ways wish I could do this sometimes, they come up with a story and then they go and report out the story. I can't really do that. I don't. So I am, and I'm not trying to say that in a kind of humble braggy way, although maybe it is a bit humble braggy, but genuinely sometimes I do wish I could do that. So I really don't know what I'm going to say about something until I've gone and seen the things and spoken to the people. So I think that's part of it as well, is that they can sense that I am actually genuinely open-minded about what they, and I think I'm quite a naive person in some ways, but I think that's got that's got benefits because I really am going there with an open mind and I want to hear what they're going to say. And I think perhaps that if you kind of went in with a much more of a kind of clear idea that these people are terrible, that you maybe wouldn't get quite as much from it for your readers because then they're going to kind of sense that.
Yes, yeah, and
that
they'll
you've got
shut
an agenda.
Down. Yeah.
And that's their whole thing anyway. That the MSM, the mainstream media, has an agenda, or the legacy media, or whatever they want to call us. So, that's their baseline assumption. So you're kind of wanting to kind of change that and get them to kind of open up.
Are you ever in the middle of these situations and thinking, I really don't know what I'm going to write about this? Like, I don't even know if there's a story
Oh,
here.
no, I always feel like that.
Right, yeah.
And I sometimes also feel like, because I'm not challenging the assumptions, sometimes I feel like, sometimes I feel like, am I a little bit too in this? Like, this is making me feel a bit icky. Like, this is some of this stuff is really, like, horrific. And I feel a bit like I'm laughing along with them. And, like, is that okay? And, like, you know, I feel that I kind of keep my integrity. I wouldn't laugh at a joke that I found really, like, despicable.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, you know, I'm kind of keeping a light attitude about the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, hiya, to, like, someone who I know their views are just, like, really...
Yeah.
It's exhausting. It is exhausting. At one point, I literally had to go and lie down. I'd actually been out late the night before, which was a bad idea. And I was a bit hungover. There was this guy who I didn't end up writing about. He just kept coming up to me and telling me how he was, like, the voice of the far right, and showing me that, like, Elon Musk follows him on Twitter, and, like...
I'm so glad you left him out.
Yeah, I know. So am I, actually. Because he was desperate for me to put him in there. And he, in the middle of him talking to me at one point, I was like, I'm sorry, I need to go and, like, have a break. So I went and lay down on a bed, weirdly, anyway, that was a whole other thing. That was going to be a scene, but there were just too many scenes to put in there, because I was, like, lying on this Union Jack bedspread with, like, a puppet hanging over the fire. It was the most surreal. The whole house was just strange and weird. And then, like, Curtis Yarvin, like, bursts in, and, like, they start doing a podcast recording in the bedroom with me, like, on the bed, and I just was like, is this real life? So it is exhausting, and it's also it can feel like you're getting a bit too close to some... It's like it's both invigorating and, like, extremely exciting, because that's the other thing about keeping a straight face, right? It's like when you're interviewing someone and they say something amazing, you don't want to write it down straight away. I was told this by someone once.
You don't go,
you don't want to put them off.
That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. You want them to keep going.
Yeah.
It's like wink murder, where, like, if the murderer winks at you, you have to wait a few seconds, otherwise it's too obvious who the murderer was. Similarly, you do that when you're like, oh my God, that was amazing. But you don't want them to know, because you want them to keep saying, like, all the crazy things that they're saying.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like you're just keeping them going, and they have no idea that they've just massively, like, kind of
revealed themselves in
exactly
some way. Yeah,
revealed themselves.
And so that is exhausting.
That's the straight face.
You've got a lot of straight face. You've got the cognitive load, as psychologists call
it,
and
the excitement about, like, oh my God, that's going to be amazing in the story.
Yeah. And you are, like, you have a notebook. I mean, that's another question I had.
I always bring one.
Or how do you? What's your general kind of method for?
Okay, my method is recording as much as I can get away with, but telling people I'm recording it. And one of them tried to say afterwards that I had been recording against people's, like, and that's not true. Sometimes what I was doing is I was recording someone else, talking to them, telling them, having told them that I'd recorded, and then someone else would walk into the conversation, and then afterwards I would say, by the way, I was recording it, like, can I use it? And if they said no, then I wouldn't. And I stuck to that. So I wasn't doing anything dodgy. Obviously, the hope is that you kind of say it and that then they forget about it, like, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie about it.
Yeah.
So you kind of hope that they, and I've got a lanyard around me, but I'm hoping that after the first 5 minutes they've slightly forgotten that I'm a journalist and that they're gonna really. So recording as much as I can kind of get away with, writing notes in my notes app. That's the main two ways. Just, like, observe. Oh, and taking pictures.
Yeah.
Because I often do that. I'm like, oh, can I take a picture of you?
Yeah.
It's because I'm like, I really want to remember what he was wearing. Or,
yeah,
like,
it's not,
I want to remember his vibe.
To go in the piece necessarily, but it's just
no, not to go in the piece ever. Just to, like, to kind of, I take a lot of pictures because people are like, how did you remember that? And I'm like, well, I just took a picture.
Yeah.
Because, just, like, of the kitchen or, like, whatever, just seeing the thing. So notebook is, like, sometimes I definitely do use a notebook, but, like, again, that's just as soon as you on a phone, people don't know if you're texting or anything. Whereas if you're using a notebook, it's very obvious that you're doing journalism, and then people are going to slightly have their guards up.
Yes.
And I'm trying to, like, very much have the opposite effect.
So, I mean, there aren't many people doing these kinds of pieces, or maybe any that I can think of in British journalism. It's quite unusual, and I think, I mean, you're quite an unusual journalist. I mean, right? I mean, there are, it's certainly like,
I'll take that as a compliment.
it's absolutely a compliment.
Thank you.
That you're doing something unique, both in these kinds of features, but also in your tone, the ideas that you write, the cultural range that you have, and you're particularly unusual, I think, at the FT. Like, I think people are kind of like, wow, you know, you add something that nobody else is doing at the FT, and I'm interested in your background and how you came to be doing it, because I suspect, you know, that uniqueness comes from, you know, your life as much as, you know, your conscious decision to cover this or this. It's kind of who you are.
Yes. Well, I do have a slightly unusual, thank you for all that. I do have a slightly unusual, have had a slightly unusual career path. I tried to become a pop star initially. Do you know that? Yeah, I didn't go to university until I was 24.
Wow.
I was in like a girl band.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
How far did you get along that road?
Not very far, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Bit of a flop. We did get some record label interest, and then no.
Yeah.
I don't think we were quite good enough, / we didn't have like a famous parent,
Yeah.
/ we didn't like we didn't put ourselves out there at all. Like, you were meant to be on MySpace at that time, and we weren't on MySpace. And like, it was like my bandmate who made that decision, and I think it was the wrong decision. So, because then we could have like put it out there and just found out whether it was going to work or it wasn't.
Yeah. The model that now everybody uses, which is you just put the content out there and then
but we didn't. So whatever. I think I'm probably happier as a journalist.
So were you dancing and
kind of
singing?
Dancing a bit, but mainly like singing, and definitely dancing a bit. But like, we thought we were a bit cooler than like the kind of, you know, it was kind of like cool pop music, like slightly alternative pop / R&B.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it on? Can we get?
Not anywhere that you can find it.
You're not going to tell me anyway. Okay.
Not that stuff anyway, because then I went a little bit solo afterwards as well.
You did? Okay, right.
Because I wanted to go to university, and at that point I was in a duo, and she felt that if I was going to university, then I wasn't dedicated to the music, and so we split. And I then went to university to study history and carried on, like, started making music on my own.
Okay.
And then, as I say, I just don't think I was quite good enough, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And I do think it was better for me to do what I'm doing now, because I think I've always had this like pull between like creativity and like brain work. So this kind of like dual pull. And actually what I'm doing now feels like I can do both, which is really wonderful, which I couldn't. So the career path has been that, and then a degree, and then I was an assistant at The Economist, started writing articles for them. Then from that, so that was where I wrote my first articles, and then went to Reuters on an internship, was put onto the markets desk, FX, which was a real slog. And at that point, told them I was going to start writing about Bitcoin, because like no one else really was at Reuters. And then that was such a good idea, because that kind of took off, and I was the person who kind of understood it at Reuters in like 2017. So then I became, that kind of like really helped me. And then I managed to come to the FT Alphaville with that kind of being a kind of someone who knew about crypto.
I see.
Which was helpful, because a lot of people still now, but especially back then, didn't really understand it. And so then I was on Alphaville for a while. And then in COVID, actually, I started writing really kind of long, thinky pieces about COVID and lockdowns and stuff. And then the editor asked me to start like trying out some columns. And then I kind of went into column writing, and then feature writing as well. So that's the trajectory.
Yeah, and you have been given, like, you were allowed to express yourself. I mean, you kind of have free range, don't you?
Yeah.
Nobody's saying, "Oh, Jemima, you've only got to talk."
No, people think that like the FT would be like that, and I'm always quite surprised, because it's not like that. I mean, there are sometimes times that I'm frustrated that I was kind of discouraged from writing something, or that I'm kind of told, no, let's not do that. And but for the most part, like, I definitely feel like I'm allowed to say what I really think, and that is
and part of it is part of your your kind of uniqueness there, and in column writing generally, is that, I think anyway, is that you don't have like a very clearly definable political position. Like you I mean, I could, in broad brushstrokes, you know, but like you're not kind of very clearly a free marketeer, right winger, or a kind of progressive leftist, but you'll kind of like take bits from different
I think
parts
that's
of
fair.
the spectrum. Yeah.
I think that's fair. Probably a little bit of a contrarian energy, which is you know, like I try not to do it in a kind of. I recognise that in myself, and I think I've kind of embraced it, because I think that we need contrarians to like expand the kind of confines of the argument.
And but it's also.
But
probably,
I don't think I wouldn't define myself as, that's not like, oh yeah.
You don't want to identify as a contrarian too strongly.
No,
Cause
I definitely don't, because that's
that
quite
lies
lame,
madness.
actually.
Yeah. But I mean, I suspect that because you kind of come to it as an outsider, at least having spent time outside of journalism, done other things, and then come in through a kind of different route. And
I've worked in a lot of like bars and shops, and like I spent a long time in Camden, and I feel that I've kind of like, some people, like even my sister has never like worked with the public, and I've spent a long time like serving like in those kind of roles, which I actually think have been quite kind of formative in some ways.
Yes.
And spent a lot of time with people who like didn't go to university, and like
yes.
That's why I say, you know, that's why I'm quite inarticulate probably. Like I'm conscious of how much I say like. So yeah, I think that's probably true, that has and then also like I went to state school in southeast London, and then but also had quite an you know, my parents both went to private school. My dad was Irish, but he did go to private school. He used to try and say like, oh yeah, you know, we're peasant farmers on this side, and then it's like, well no, but you did actually go to a really good Catholic private school. But I think that also creates a certain different thing if you've kind of got that kind of mixture of influences in terms of kind of class, I guess. Like you're kind of going to a relatively like crap state school, and then you're you know, but your parents are kind of highly educated and kind of middle class, and so again there was a kind of
mix of different elements.
Yeah. Because I think there's often that kind of like liberal elite kind of, you know, you went to private school and then you went to Oxbridge, and now you're like, you have a certain view of like how, you know, what the poor working class people are like, and it's like, but
and what
you
it
don't
means to be
actually
a
know
serious
any
person, and you know, and some things are serious and some are just not serious, and you kind of escaped all those preconceptions. Let's finish by talking about your. This is a terrible question, but what is your kind of dream assignment right now? What would you think? Oh, I'd really love to be in that place, or meet those people, or get into that circle.
There's a few. I mean, I'm very drawn to baddies, so like I always kind of want to go and hang out with the worst people, because I find it like really. I really want to, because I think it's really important that we try and find out like what the hell. Okay, for example, Kanye. I would love to go and spend some time with Kanye. Yeah. I used to absolutely adore him. I love his music. I think he's a kind of creative genius in lots of ways, not just musically. And then he's just completely like lost himself. I think he's like got a mental illness, actually, not even just a mental health issue. I think he has some form of mental illness, from what I can tell. But he has kind of just, I don't know, he's just fallen into such a weird and sad place. And I would love to go and like,
what's his world
see if there's
like
any
now?
Of the old Kanye left. Yeah, what's his world like?
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously never going to, the FT is not going to let me go and like do a lunch with the FT with Kanye. In fact, I did pitch it.
Right.
It was a no.
Okay. That's a shame.
I know, but I get it as well, because
Okay.
And then, well, actually, next week I am going on a bit of a dream assignment, to be honest.
Are you?
Yes.
Are you allowed to say what it is?
Well, when is this airing? I don't know. I don't know. Let's say, but I'm going. Basically, I am. Well, it's for a travel feature, but then I'm also going to do a story out there. I'm going to Uganda.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty
Amazing.
dreamy. That's pretty dreamy.
Yeah.
And then I would love to hang out with Melania, as
Yes.
like we talked about last time.
Ah, Melania
I would
Trump.
love to just go
Yeah.
and like kind of just spend time with her
Yeah.
and see what's going on there.
Oh.
But even like genuinely like the world's like, I mean, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I mean, no, this is going to sound ridiculous. I'm not going to say that. But like, basically imagine like the world's worst people. Some of them I'd like to go and like see what the hell is
Yeah.
going on.
Andrew Tate.
Well, I wasn't thinking of him actually.
No.
Like, he might be a bit, yeah.
Bleak.
A bit bleak, yeah. And also just like he has just been given like I'm not one for like talking about platforming, but he
Yeah,
has
you don't
been
want to
given
contribute to
a
that.
little bit too much airtime, I think.
Yeah, fair enough.
Does
Yeah.
that answer the question? Just
Yeah, it does.
baddies?
And it's interesting, yeah, baddies that but baddies that are interesting is, I mean, just Andrew Tate is probably not interesting enough, actually.
No,
Like,
exactly.
so, I mean, Kanye is actually
He
a
is.
great
He's just
artist,
an-
whether or not,
absolutely,
even if
and
he's
like-
gone off the rails, he's so.
But he's also gone off the rails in a similar way to like Matthew Glamour, to go back to like, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so you're a provocateur. You've always been a provocateur.
Yeah.
And then you've said something that everyone has said that's beyond the pale. And it is. It was beyond the pale. Like something you've...
Yeah.
But then like everyone has just come down on you so hard that like there's no... It's like we don't have any redemption anymore. There's no... Like even if he wanted to, no one would allow him to have redemption. I think that's a shame. I wish we allowed for people to redeem themselves. I wish we like... This is where I start. Like, I'm not a Christian, but like I really see some of the values of Christianity that we're kind of lacking. One of them being like service. Like we don't think of service like as being an important thing. And we don't think of like redemption. I just think like we want people to be cast out forever. And I wish we weren't like that. And so I would like, so I think Kanye has had a similar thing in like that he now has to just keep saying the like worst things possible to kind of get attention. And there's no point in him trying to like come back from that because no one's going to let him. So like he might as well kind of, you know, now he's like, oh, when Elon and Trump fell out, he was like, oh no, bros, we love you both. Like, you know, he's completely like into that side of things now.
Yeah.
And not just, I don't even just mean the right or anything. I just mean like he's like, yeah. So Kanye, maybe. Because he combines my musical, you know, he was one of my like musical inspirations.
Yes.
And then is also like obviously extremely political and yeah.
Yes. There's a lot there,
There is
isn't
a
there?
lot there.
There's a rich
There's a new documentary out about him that I want to see, but it's not out in the UK at the moment, but it's out in the US.
Well, we'll see what we can do to make this happen. Pull a few strings. In the meantime, Jemima Kelly, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.